watching YouTube, JamieTheKid00 here, coming to you guys with a deck profile that's going to be a little bit quiet because it is 2 in the morning when I'm recording this, but I wanted to bring you a deck profile of a pet project that I've been working on for a while and I've finally managed to finish, and that is the Vampire deck from Shadow Specters. While I'm aware that Legacy of the Valiant is 2 weeks away, 1 week if you're counting the sneak peek, I figured I would build this deck. I've been having a lot of fun with it on Dueling Network, and it's just something that I really wanted to build for fun in a format which I feel is a lot more liberated. So I figured I'd actually show you this list. I've been discussing this list with a good friend of mine who I consider to be a very good zombie player, and he played zombies back in Card of Safe Return format when they were good, so I kind of recognise him as an authority on the deck. And this is very similar to his build with a couple of changes due to my personal preferences. So to start the list off, I play 2 copies of Shadow Vampire. Shadow Vampire is kind of the guy you want to get to earliest. I'm going to explain their effects because a lot of people won't know what vampires do. This guy, when he's normal summoned, you can special summon 1 dark vampire monster from your hand or deck, except Shadow Vampire. But if you do, only that monster can attack for the rest of this turn. This card cannot be used as an Xyz material for the Xyz summon of a monster except the Xyz summon of a dark monster. So you can kind of see where he's going. He gives you a big restriction, but he does get you into an instant rank 5 dark Xyz, of which there are 3 that this deck plays. The main guy he is going to be searching from the deck is the 3 copies of Vampire Duke we play. Vampire Duke is similar to Shadow Vampire in that when he's normal summoned, when he's tribute summoned, sorry. No, it's not even tribute summoned, sorry. I'm really tired. When he's normal summoned, you can target 1 dark vampire monster in your graveyard and special summon that target in face-up defense position. Also, and this is why you always special summon this guy off of Shadow Vampire, when this card is special summoned, you can declare 1 card type, monster, spell, or trap, similar to Vampire Lord. Your opponent sends 1 card of that type from their deck to the graveyard, and you can only use this effect of Vampire Duke once per turn. This card can also, in the same way as Shadow Vampire, not be used as the Xyz material for an Xyz summon except for the Xyz summon of a dark monster. So you'll be thinking, yeah, the effect's pretty cool. It lets you send any 1 card from, any card type from your opponent's deck to the graveyard of their choosing. But what kind of end does that get you to? Well, if you've seen this deck already, you'd understand that Vampire Kingdom is the reason why we play this. If you haven't, please wait until we get to Vampire Kingdom. And the last kind of big vampire we're playing is 1 copy of Vampire Grace. I originally didn't like Vampire Grace very much, but I have since been convinced to play it because it is the only vampire monster in the deck which has an ignition effect wherein you can just say, okay, effect of Grace, you send a guy from deck to grave, and that will of course trigger your Vampire Kingdom. The other cards are all trigger effects. They all trigger under specific conditions. Vampire Grace is a lot more liberated like that, and it's also something that you can transmodify into after you've summoned a Vampire Duke and it's been veilered, or you've summoned a Shadow Vampire and that's been veilered. It just gives you more options, and it can resurrect itself from the graveyard for some pretty nice plays. Then continuing on with the vampires, the last vampires we play in the main deck are 3 copies of Vampire Sorcerer. Vampire Sorcerer also, which was known as Sorceress in Japan, and now it's Sorcerer, so I don't know. Vampire Sorcerer is your main searcher of the deck. It's a 15/15, which kind of makes it bad because you can't search it off of Goblin Zombie, which is why we run a reduced number of goblins and an increased number of Pyramid Turtles in this build. When this card is sent to the graveyard, well, destroyed by your opponent's card, a battle card effect, you can add 1 dark vampire monster or 1 vampire spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then, as an additional effect, which is really quite cool, is you can banish this card from your graveyard, and 1 dark vampire monster you normal summon this turn can be normal summoned without tributing. So you can instantly drop one of your shadows or your dukes without having to tribute. So that effect in and of itself is incredible. Moving on to the non-vampire cards, we play 2 copies of Goblin Zombie. Goblin Zombie has 2 good effects. Actually, the second effect is actually a lot more relevant in this deck than in the normal zombie deck. Of course, Goblin Zombie, when he's sent to the graveyard by any means, that includes tributing, so he's actually pretty cool for tributing for your Duke or Shadow or Grace. When he's sent, of course, you search a zombie monster with 1200 or less defense from your deck to your hand. And also, when he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you send the top card of their deck to the graveyard. This does also trigger the effect of Vampire Kingdom, so it's pretty cool. We then play double Pyramid Turtle. I like Pyramid Turtle because it can special summon Grace, it can special summon Duke, so it can trigger Duke's effect in your opponent's turn if you've got Kingdom up, and you can pop your opponent's cards during their turn. And it can also summon Vampire Sorcerer, so you can get you into good setups. So I really like double Turtle in this build. We're then, for our next and only kind of generic zombie 3 of, we're playing 3 copies of Mizuki. I really like the 3 Mizuki. It's got a 1700 body or a 22 body under Vampire Kingdom, so that makes it pretty cool. And it can also be used to res back, say, a Goblin Zombie, so you can then tribute the Goblin Zombie for a Vampire Shadow. It can res back a Vampire Duke, which will then get its effect. It can res back a Vampire Grace. It's just really, really useful in all of those capacities because it doesn't specify the level that it resurrects. I then play 1 copy of Zombie Master. Zombie Master is a little bit bad in this deck because it can't resurrect your level 5 or higher. So it's kind of bad in that regard, but it's pretty good for resing your Mizuki, your Goblin Zombie, your Pyramid Turtle, your Vampire Sorcerer, and also the one Plague Spreader Zombie that we do play. The Zombie Master has some pretty nice combos with the Plague. And Plague Spreader Zombie plus any of your level 5 zombies does give you access to Black Rose Dragon, which is an incredible card this format, and will always be an incredible card in my opinion. And then the last monster I play is Dark Arm Dragon, who is actually surprisingly versatile in this deck because you do have a lot of graveyard-based manipulation in the zombie build. So I believe that is 18 to 20 monsters. It's somewhere in that region. I can't honestly remember what the actual number was, but that's our monster lineup. For the spells, we have an awful lot of one-offs, and then just some it's just really potent stuff. So we're playing 1 Dark Hole. Of course, we need to have our field removal. We have a lot of destruction in this deck. 1 Book of Moon. 1 Allure of Darkness, because there are a lot of dark cards in the deck. And if you draw your level 5 vampires with no way to summon them, they can be quite dead, so your Allure kind of helps filter out your hand. 1 Foolish Burial for setting up your Mizukis and your Vampire Sorcerers. 1 Burial from a different dimension. Again, this sets up your Vampire Sorcerers and your Mizukis, putting them back in the graveyard, so you can swarm the field by putting back like 3 banished Mizukis and crazy stuff like that. 1 Creature Swap, which if you've been following my Facebook, you will see has been an incredible card, and I still absolutely love this because there are so many things you can run over. Like, there have been situations where I made Shark Fortress with this deck, Creature Swap my opponent, my Pyramid Turtle, run over the Pyramid Turtle with one of the Shark Fortress's attacks, and then of course the Pyramid Turtle got me a monster which I could then attack with again, so it was incredible. 1 Transmodify for turning Goblin Zombies and Vampire Sorcerers into the bigger vampires. There are situations in which it's pretty good. It is a card I side out quite a lot, regrettably, but it's a one-off that I'm a really big fan of nonetheless. We're going to move these up. And then for some of the 2-ofs and multiples, I play 2 copies of MST, because you need to main deck MST in this format, in my opinion. But I feel that 2 is enough in this build. 2 copies of Book of Life, because of course we are playing a zombie deck, so we'll play Monster Reborn, why not? And also banishes your opponent's in-grave cards, so it's really quite good at banishing your opponent's Tidal, if you're playing Mermails, some of their Firefist Spirit plays, if you're playing against Firefist, their Bears, just like their level 4 Firefist targets, so you can slow down the Wolf Bark, things like that. So it's pretty versatile. And then 3 copies of Vampire Kingdom, which is the field spell, which is actually pretty cool. Vampire Kingdom reads, zombie type monsters gain 500 attack during the damage during damage calculation only. So it activates when Honest activates. Once per turn, when a card or cards is sent from the opponent's deck to the graveyard, target 1 card on the field and send 1 dark vampire monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And if you do, destroy that target. So you can get quite a few sends going around per turn, so you can get quite a few destructions off if you have enough vampire fodder in your main deck. So we almost always send I almost always send Sorcerer with this, because then you're setting up like 3 normal summons for your big guys. But you can send Grace as well, so that the Grace can res itself from the graveyard. We then play, we're going to move on to the trap lineup. 2 of, in my opinion, my favourite trap in this deck. Vampire Takeover. Vampire Takeover reads, if you have no card in your field zone and all face-up monsters you control, and a minimum of 1 are zombie type, activate 1 Vampire Kingdom directly from your deck, which means they can't chain MST to it, because it's activating and resolving when this card resolves. And then you can special summon 1 dark vampire monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position. So this can be used to special summon a sorcerer back, but a really nice play that I like doing is activating the Vampire Kingdom, special summoning back a Vampire Duke. That Duke then activates, sending an opponent's card from their deck to the graveyard, which then triggers Kingdom, and Kingdom then destroys a card. So it gets you the field spell, sets you up with a guy on field, and destroys one of your opponent's cards, usually a monster that would then attack over that Duke. So it's a pretty awesome card, gets you set up really nicely. I'm then playing 2 copies of Regeki Break. Regeki Break I could swap out for Divine Wrath, I haven't decided yet. Its effect is simple, discard 1 card to target 1 card on the field and destroy it. The reason why we play this is because we need a discard outlet in this deck. We need ways to set up our graveyard because sometimes you really do need to discard stuff from your hand. Stuff like Plague Spreader Zombie, stuff like Mizuki just doesn't belong in your hand. You want to get it set up in the graveyard, and Raigeki Break helps you do that. It's a very powerful card and I really like it in this deck, and it is the reason I don't play the third MST in the main board. And then for more generic stuff, play 2 Mirror Force, 1 Compulsory, 1 Torrential Tribute, because blowing up your own stuff is fine in zombies, and 1 Solemn Warning, because Solemn Warning is an incredible trap. Right, we're going to go into the extra deck. I'm sorry my voice is so strange in this video, but I do have to keep moderately quiet. For the rank 4s, we do make some rank 4s in this deck, so we do play a few rank 4s. Extra deck space in this is, I guess, kind of tight. It's not too bad, but there are only a few things that you really make regularly. So for our 4s, we play 1 Black Ship of Corn. I felt this was one of the best kind of problem solvers that I could play, and it's a dark, so it gets around Goes and Match if I start to face off against Goes and Match. 1 Maestroke, same kind of reasoning behind Maestroke, and I just love the genericness of Maestroke. 1 Lavaval Chain. Lavaval Chain helps you set up your grave, long story short. I just absolutely love the card, so it's incredible in zombies, so why wouldn't we play it? And it also lets you top deck a Dark Arm Dragon, which is a dirty play that I've seen a lot of people do with this. And then I play 1 Abyss Dweller, because Abyss Dweller is really, really good at countering the Mermail and Zombie Mirror. So we'll get rid of those. That is the 4s. For the 5s, we play 2 copies of Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. Vampire Bram is an incredible Xyz. He's 2 level 5 zombie-type monsters, so you understand how you're going to be making him. Its effect reads, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, target any 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, and special summon that target to your side of the field. But if you do, only that monster can attack for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Crimson Knight Vampire Bram once per turn. And then during the standby phase of the next turn, after this card you controlled was destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or card effect, and sent to your graveyard, special summon it from the graveyard in face-up defense position. So if this guy dies, he reses himself, and when you make him, you can detach 1 material from him and steal 1 monster out of your opponent's graveyard. There have been crazy moments where I've used this card to steal Stardust Dragons, Stardust Spark, I've stolen Thunder King, I've stolen incredible amounts of things with this card, so it's really useful. Then for the more generic darks, we play 1 Adreus, because Adreus kills stuff, it's really good to make. 1 Shark Fortress, because you need more dark Xyzes. I prefer the Shark Fortress to the second Adreus, because it can swing for 48, so it's pretty damn cool. And I then play 1 Gaia Dragoon, the Thunder Charger. The main reason I play Gaia is A, for when we've used up Adreus, but also for Crimson Knight Vampire Bram, because when Vampire Bram comes back, he comes back in defense position, and of course you can't switch him because he summons himself in that position, so you can't switch him that turn. But what you can do is, while he's in defense, you can just simply overlay him, because he's a level 5, for Gaia, and swing for 26. So he does make his body useful. So that is the 5s of the extra deck. Then for the Synchros, I play 2 6s, 2 7s, and 1 8. You hardly ever make the Synchros, but they're in here as options. So I play 1 HTS Psyhemoth, soon to be replaced by Powered Enzectron, because I prefer Powered Enzectron to this, but HTS is in here. 1 Revive King Hades. This gives you great plays against opponents' Mermail Abysslins, Brotherhood of Firefist Boars. It's just really, really useful at swinging over your opponent's stuff and locking it into the graveyard, and you can make it with zombies. For the 7s, 1 Black Rose Dragon and 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon. There are a lot of field spells doing the rounds now. Like, Ancient Fairy Dragon will win you the game against Prophecies simply because of the fact that you make this. You pop their tower, it misses timing because you gain the 1,000 life points, and then you add Kingdom to your hand and you're set up and ready to go next turn. It's incredible. And then if you don't plan on attacking that turn, you can go this, Kingdom, and then like special summon a Vampire Sorcerer, and it just does crazy plays. I just really like Ancient Fairy Dragon in this. And then the last monster I play is 1 Scrap Dragon, because Scrap Dragon is a boss, and you can make this guy fairly easily with Grace and Plague Spreader, so 2 special summonable monsters. You can make it without even normal summoning, and then like normal summon a Goblin Zombie, pop the Goblins. You can make so many plays with this deck. It's so much fun. So yeah, guys, I'm sorry if this has been a bit different. If you really want me to redo this, I guess I can, but I've given you all the information that I feel I need to impart after making this video, and I'm just really quite pleased with how this has come out. It was just a fun project because I really like how zombies play. I really like the recursion they have, and like zombies and plants are two of my favourite kind of decks to play, because the amount of recursion and the amount of options they can put out is just really phenomenal. So I hope you've enjoyed this deck profile as much as I've enjoyed making it. I'm sorry if I missed anything out. Please let me know your builds, what you think of this build, any changes you would make, anything you can recommend. And as per usual, my new rule still applies. If you're going to criticise, please give a reason, or your comment will be deleted within 12 hours of its posting. Otherwise, that's about everything I want to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. This has been Jimmy the Kid 00. Peace out.